Welcome to episode 66, Mario Lemieux edition of PuckPod by BE Sports here. I'm Christian. I'm here with Dave. Dave, I'd say how was your week, but it's been a couple weeks here. So
It
how have
has
your
been.
couple of weeks been?
Well, Christian, I don't know about you, but I don't know if you remember this, but I think me and you went to Florida, not this past week, the week before.
You know what? Now that I think about it, you're right. We did
Yeah,
do that. Yeah.
yeah. Dude, Florida was beautiful. Like you can't honestly can't complain. Weather was awesome. The people that we went with, awesome. The whole experience itself was just fantastic. It was I the only qualm I have about it is that I wish it was like 2 weeks that we were there instead of just one. That would have been awesome. But I keep saying awesome, but it was awesome. Like you have to believe me. I don't know, Christian, like what do you have any thoughts of the time that we had there?
Like it was supposed to be, and it was a lot of work. It was a as much as it was a school trip, it was like a get a taste of the day in the life of a sports journalist type of trip. And
Yeah.
we, like I said, we did a crap ton of work, but even the work was fun. Like at no point did I find like, damn, I'm stressing about the work we had to do. No, everything was just fun, fun, fun. Nothing felt like work. It was awesome. Like you, I have like no complaints. It exceeded my expectations in terms of just how much fun I had. I thought it was
100%.
gonna be a balance of fun and work. No, it was like 90% fun, 10% work. And like I said, we did do a lot of work every single day, but it was fun.
It was fun
So
work, dude.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
it doesn't feel like work because of like the circumstances around it. You know what I mean? Like we were
yeah,
in Florida, we were granted, like, dude, we were covering sports. Like it's not like we were there doing like
yeah,
biomechanics or something ridiculous like that, right? Like
yeah.
we were in our element basically, right? Um, dude, yeah, honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Do you want to give a quick rundown here of like just some of the things that we got to do
Yeah,
during that
yeah.
week? So in my case, I started off at in Dunedin, so TD Ballpark for a Blue Jays spring training game. So got to take that in. Then my Tuesday was at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. That was really fun. That exceeded my expectations too. I'd never been to a golf event. I don't golf much. I need to get into it more. But that was really fun from a picture aspect, like a photography aspect. It was really fun trying to chase photos of the golfers. Like I've got stick photos of Rory. I've got Ricky Fowler, some cool photos. So that was really, really enjoyable. That exceeded my expectations. Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday was University of Tampa baseball. Got to check out their field. Got to talk to some of the players. That was cool. And then Thursday, beach volleyball at Eckerd College. And just on like University of Tampa and Eckerd College, it was just like living in a different world. Those campuses are state of the art, humongous, and just like I said, like it doesn't feel like real life. Like there's just people in their swimsuits in between classes. Like just imagine being able to say in Toronto, yeah, after class, I'm gonna grab lunch and then I'm gonna head to the beach for a bit and before my last class for the day.
People are
Like
gonna be
it's
like, "Are you
insane.
crazy? Are you
Yeah, like
crazy?
where are
You're
you
gonna go to
going? Lake
Wasaga?
Ontario, buddy? Like what?
You didn't have
Yeah,
to Wasaga
so
after your
you
class?"
going on with Sega, man? That's you sure you're gonna get back in time? Yeah, so that was unbelievable. So those were my events, and Dave did some awesome stuff too. So much to talk
Yeah,
about.
so dude, that must have been like the first time me and you were literally not basically attached at the hip for
Yeah,
the past 2 months, 2.5 months,
yeah,
for the most part. Yeah, I had a great time as well. So I started in so we actually we started with our day off. So all the groups got a day off. Christian probably got the better end of that deal by getting his day off on the last day. So while we were working, like my group was working, Christian's group got to relax, which sounds like a great deal. I was blessed to get my day off right at the beginning, so I got to have my fun, and we did. I highlighted my trip. We went to a thrift store, and I bought a St. Leo University top. I wore that last night, and I had multiple people ask me, "Hey, where is that?" I'm like, oh, I went to school in Florida, guys. Like, what do you want me to say? Little white lie never hurt
can't
anybody.
hear my Florida accent, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so we started in my group started in Sarasota, Florida. which was awesome. We went the Baltimore Orioles were gracious enough to let us interview one of their minor league prospects.
Really
Everybody in the
jealous
group
of that one.
saw one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was what an experience that was. Wednesday we went to USF for women's softball. I got to talk to one. I got to interview one girl on the team, and we just like kind of talking to some of the other girls. Their coaches like one of a kind. Like the guy is he's just past 1,100 wins as a coach. Like the guy's been doing it for over 20 years. His name is Ken Erickson, by the way. Thursday, I went to Port Charlotte for a Tampa Rays spring training game, and we were just like, I didn't watch any I don't know about you, but I saw literally maybe an inning of baseball that
Yeah,
day.
probably 2 or 3 innings at most. Yeah.
Man, we were just running around the stadium.
Yeah.
I was a part of the team that put together like a short video that day, and we were just talking to fans throughout the game. Man, the Phillies fans are whatever you think they are in your head, you're right, because they are exactly that. They are fanatical. Like that's the only word that I can use to describe them. And the Rays fans, I have to say, weren't as fanatical. They know a lot about their team, but they are pretty reserved, I have to say. What day is that? Thursday. So that means Friday, I went to St. Leo University, which is another just picturesque school. They have like they have a golf course on the like in the middle of the campus. Like 18 holes
Absurd.
in the middle of the
Absurd.
campus, dude. Like, could you
Like,
imagine?
dude,
Oh my God.
I can't.
Imagine putting the National Golf Club in the middle of like TMU. Like that is what to an extent, because it's not the same, but you get what I mean, right? Yeah, that was awesome. I got to talk to lacrosse players at St. Leo, and then that was it. Like we had a good night the last night as well. Got to like kind of
Shout out to
getting
Whiskey Joe's.
shout out Whiskey Joe's. Yeah, shout out Whiskey Joe's for me for getting a gift for one of my friends that I had bought. Shout out to them.
Story in
Uh
itself. Yeah.
yeah. What was really cool was getting everybody's like personal experiences. You know what I mean? Like hearing all the stories from like this is
Yeah.
how I saw how this happened, and then the next person could have saw something like completely different. You know what I mean? Like that's how,
Yeah.
or maybe this person said this to me. Like how crazy is that? Like, you know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
wild, wild, wild.
There was a lot of stuff going on for 1 week. Yeah. But
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that's enough about us. We'll get
Yeah.
into usual programming here, some hockey talk. So yeah, because it's been so long since we've spoke here, we got to talk about the deadline. Yeah, I know that was on March 9th. It was on my off day, which was nice for me. I was on the golf course and I could check my phone for trades and stuff, but
No,
it was still
I could not. I was
yeah,
not.
no,
Yeah.
I bet. But yeah, that obviously happened and we got to talk about it. So obviously a lot of the minutia has probably been talked about wherever you get your sports talk. We're going to go a little bit broader here. Just talk about our winners and losers from this deadline. Winner and loser from the Eastern Conference and winner and loser from the Western Conference. Let's start west. We'll make our way east. Dave, do you want to kick us off here? You can go winner, loser first, whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I think it'd be remiss without like let's start with the winners both times. I think the
Sounds
teams
good.
that won really won, you know what I mean? And the teams that lost, like I don't want to rub more salt in their wounds.
Yeah,
But so in the West, uh listen, I don't think this is gonna come as a shock to most people. And if maybe you disagree with me, maybe you got to get your head checked because the Vegas Golden Knights, probably I would argue probably one of the biggest winners of the whole trade deadline weekend. And that's not to say like they made the maybe the best additions. Like we aren't technically consider like are we considering like Elias Lindholm and Sean Monahan and all those moves that came like 2 months ago? Like I don't know. Like
put
how
it to you this way though. Like I think you can consider them, and they still had one of the
and
best
yeah,
deadlines. Like
yeah.
I think
You
you're
know
good
what?
either way.
I don't think that's an unfair
Yeah,
statement. I think there
yeah.
are some teams that are in contention, but I think, man, when I saw that Thomas Hurdle was going from San Jose to Vegas, I was like, whoa. Like that probably had to have been the most shocking I
Oh,
would argue
100%.
probably the most
Biggest deal
shocking.
and the most surprising because there was no build up, no
Yeah.
rumors about that at all.
There's one thing with trade like trading players like Thomas Hurdle, people of his caliber, you kind of know what to expect, right? Like there's so much talk, I would say, let's say a month before the actual trade gets through, because you have to have the preliminary talks. And then one team's
There's
going to go
usually like
back to,
trade clause talk, whatever,
yeah, one team's
right?
going to go back to the drawing board. In that month, like there's a really high chance of details of the trade leaking out. And maybe that causes teams to pull out of the deal. Dude, with the Thomas Hurdle trade, Kelly McCrimmon kind of like went in like a thief in the night. He went
Oh
under a
yeah.
lot of people's noses. I would imagine that he also went under fellow GM's noses. Like, did they know Thomas Hurdle was on the market? I mean, granted, the Sharks are probably in a position to trade anything not nailed down to the SAP Center. If they could trade the SAP Center right now, I think they
Oh,
might.
they'd make that
They
trade right away.
consider it. They consider it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like Kelly McCrimmon, and that's just one of the moves. Like, getting Anthony Mantha, who I know Brian doesn't have the brightest opinions on Anthony Mantha. I think he's an adequate player. I don't think he's outstanding. And then they landed one of the big fish, like in Noah
That was a
Hannafin.
surprise too. Like we didn't hear them about being in those talks until the very
See,
end.
it was a surprise on the team. Like the player, I think
Yeah.
we knew the player was going to be moved, but it was kind of like,
Yes.
oh, he's going to move out east, right? That was the big
We were
talk.
told it was Tampa. We were told Boston's in there,
At Florida as well, right?
Florida, right? So basically,
Was
just anybody in the Atlantic other than the Leafs.
were the Canes not also like trying to reacquire him, or am I thinking of
I
somebody
can't
else?
remember if I heard Canes, but like Canes are in on a lot of guys. Like they're one of those teams that they talk to everyone.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah,
yeah.
dude. The Knights were a very strong team. They're also a very depleted team. They haven't been playing well recently. I think they might honestly own the worst record since, or if not the worst, like one of the worst records since the start of the new year. Not
They're
great.
they're they're not fighting for their playoff lives, but they're gonna
It
have
wasn't.
to give their best down the
Yeah,
stretch here. They can't coast.
it wasn't as secure as it was, say, maybe in December, November,
Yeah,
right?
basically since the Leafs visited Vegas, it hasn't been well for them.
Well,
And when you
that
think back how long it's been since the Leafs visited Vegas, that was a while ago. That was
was a
like
while ago.
more than probably a month ago, probably a bit more.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So getting those guys. Listen, Mark Stone's out probably. I would imagine he comes back at some point in the playoffs if they make a deep run. I don't know when. That's their captain down. Jack Eichel, is he
He's back.
hurt? Is he
He's
back?
back.
Okay, so he's back. Missing him, probably arguably one of their most important players, the highest paid player on their roster. Like the two guys I just mentioned right there make up quite a bit of cap space. That's like
Yeah.
imagine like the Leafs losing both Matthews and Marner. Like, they're already down Marner.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it makes a difference when you lose guys like that. They've had guys step in, maybe not fill the best job of doing that, but
They're
um
placeholders.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the Vegas Golden Knights, I think they targeted they strengthened themselves and also by proxy weakened other teams in the market, especially in the Pacific Division. I think we could
Yeah.
we'll go into it later, but they definitely weakened a team like the Kings by like letting the Kings not go after any of those three guys, basically, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Just for context here on the trades, their first trade was on March 5th. They got Anthony Mantha half retained for second and fourth. 2 days later, they got Hannafin and Mikhail Vorobyov. Not really important to the deal. They ended up trading Daniel Miramanov, a defenseman, a third round pick in 2024, and a 2026 first rounder to Calgary, with some conditions involved. Not too important here. They're pretty straightforward. And Philly did some retaining on Hannafin. They got a fifth round pick from Vegas. Then the blockbuster came on deadline day. Vegas got Tomas Hertl. 17.1% retained. So that takes him from, I think, 8.25 to 6.75. Um, and they got 2/3 as well from San Jose. And they had to give up David Edstrom, one of their better prospects. He's kind of like the way somebody broke him down for me was as a Phil Deneau type of projectable. He is, I guess this is even a better comparison from a prospect perspective. Fraser Minton. He's Vegas's Fraser Minton. Doesn't
Okay.
project as a great offensive guy, but he's a stalwart defensively. He's playing in the top Swedish league. They drafted him. Yeah, they drafted him last year, 32nd overall after winning the cup. So he went in the deal as well as a 2025 first from Vegas. So those are the deals just for some context. You got anything else to say on Vegas before we move on, Dave?
How many more years does Hurdle have? He just signed that contract, right?
Yeah, I want to say he signed it 2 years ago. He is signed through to 2029, 2030.
Yeah,
He's
perfect.
30 right now. So that
Fantastic.
is 6 more years. That takes him through to age 36.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So
not
it's a
bad
long
business
deal.
there.
It's
No.
a that's going all in, not just for this year, but for the future. So
Yeah.
big moves from Vegas.
No, other than that, that's all for the Western side. What about you? Who do you have as a winner in the on the West?
Yeah, so my winner is probably the other obvious team here. It's Colorado. And the easiest way I can sum up their deadline is they went 4 for 4. They made 4 trades, and I like all 4 of them. First off, they traded Ryan Johansson and a first for Sean Walker and a fifth.
Yep.
Sean Walker scored 2 goals last night against Edmonton. He was looking fantastic. Nearly got the hat trick. He's just been a seamless fit. He's a guy I was big on for the Leafs to maybe get involved with. Obviously, they didn't, and yeah, Colorado's reaping the benefits early from him. They then had one of the other blockbuster trades, and I'm happy we had that conversation. I want to say like 3 weeks ago about Middlestat.
Yep.
We were trying to come up with some idea for a trade. I think one of the things we had was Hannafin for Middlestat. It ends up being Bowen Byram for Casey Middlestat in a huge deal, kind of out of nowhere, kind of not. The Middlestat one was definitely something people caught on to, but we had no idea that Bowen Byram was available. That's another one where
Yep.
if you're a GM just around the NHL and you're
Start
saying
calling.
you didn't tell me Bowen Byram was available, like
Yeah.
that's
Pick
one
up
of
the
those
phone.
scenarios there.
That's it.
Yeah,
Just
and
start picking it up, man.
I think the best way I could sum up that trade is Colorado traded ability for availability. Bowen Byram, we know that guy is awesome. He's also had a good start in Buffalo, but he's had injury concerns, concussion concerns. He's spoken about those. And for Colorado, they can afford to deal from their strength, defense, for something that they've been needing since Kadri left after their cup run, a 2C. And Casey Middlestat is that guy.
Feels
He's
it.
been very underrated in Buffalo. I think he's definitely fallen since last year, but he plays for the most part just 5-on-5. He doesn't get the majority of, not even forget the majority. He doesn't even get like a quarter of his points on the power play. He's a 5-on-5 play driver, and that's exactly what Colorado needed in that 2C spot. So I really like that deal for them as much as I like Bowen Byram.
Just
And then they made,
just a quick
yeah,
aside on Bowen Byram as well. Um, has it like I really haven't seen Middlestat in Avs colors yet, but I have seen Byram in Sabres colors. Man, is it possible that both teams could win? I will say this on record. I'm genuinely convinced in my heart that Buffalo will end up making the playoffs. Is it because of this trade? I don't know, but it just seems like everything is clicking right now. And with Byram on the back end, with the other pieces that are on their back end, like Darlene, Power, is Samuelson injured?
Samson's done for the year. Yeah,
Yes, that's right.
yeah.
Who else am I thinking of? Whatever, doesn't matter. They
Those are
have
those
some
are the big
pieces.
three. Those are
Yeah, those
the
were the big
horses on
three,
that
right?
team.
Now it's
Yeah.
only the big two. You add your third piece again, right, with Bo and Byram, and then you could literally just fill out the rest with whoever. Um, yeah, honestly, awesome.
I think the biggest thing with Byram is he's changed the Sabres power play. He's got 3 goals, two
Yeah,
assists in 5 games,
yeah.
and Middlestat's got 3 points in 4 games. The other 2 trades Colorado made were getting Brandon Duhaime and Yakov Trenin, each for third-round picks. I like both of those guys, and I think those are kind of I would once again I'd look at those as the Blake Coleman and Barkley Gaudreau trades, but for reasonable prices and for slightly lesser players. But those are the types
Mhm.
of guys that got bottom six forwards. But as far as bottom six forwards go, those are two that I like big time. Duhaime, big dude, speedy dude, just plays a north-south game. And Yakov Trenin, same idea. He's Trenin, I'd almost compare to Mikheyev light. Or if you want to just put it as Mikheyev in his first season with the Leafs when he had stoned hands, when he
Yeah.
just get all these chances and he had no finish. That's Yakov Trenin. But
Okay.
that's okay on your fourth line in your bottom six. That's all
Could be
right.
a lot worse. At least we're trying to put
Yeah.
that Mikheyev on the second line, so
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
wasn't
I
really
don't think we're
working.
gonna see Yakov trending on the second line. But yeah, I've got Colorado as my winner. I think they're back to being a complete team, and I think that's something we couldn't have said for the past 2 years. And yeah, they're scary as hell. They're scary
Yeah,
as hell.
yeah, they
On
are.
the flip side, let's talk about some losers here. Who's our Western Conference loser, Dev?
Do you wanna take it first, or do you want me to go first?
Um, let's just alternate. Yeah, you go ahead here.
All right. So listen, I was harsh. I was harsh to this team in the off season, and I think I'm pretty vindicated that they had a very, very good start, and then a very, very, very just pretty brutal like mid part to the season. They've been so up and down, this team. They literally look like a roller coaster. Oh, they are roller coaster the team, basically. The highs are high, the lows like reaching the pits of despair, basically. The Los Angeles Kings decided not to do anything. I think if okay, let's say hypothetically the trade deadline it happened in December. Do the Kings make a move because they're in a better position? I think they were still in a top three Pacific division spot. I think they might have been touching two because the Oilers weren't there yet, or weren't at the level that they're at right now, obviously. Does that change their circumstances for maybe not being a little bit more aggressive at the deadline? I don't know. Are there cupboards? Do they have stock cupboards? I don't think they do. So that probably doesn't help out. But man, all three teams in those top division, the Pacific Division spots, all of them strengthened, and I would argue some of them strengthened pretty significantly, right? Like we were just talking about Vegas, they probably strengthened the most significantly, right? And like that's a team that you have to compete against if you want to make it into the playoffs. And the Kings kind of just stood there and looked pretty, basically, right? So for that reason, just in terms of the trade deadline, they lost because they didn't make any trades at the deadline. There's
Yeah.
a couple other teams that did that, but maybe it's more warranted for them. For the Kings, oof, I don't know. They kind of seem to be like lost in like a middle position here. You brought
Yeah.
in Pierre-Luc Dubois, you made some other moves, and no, nothing's really worked out. Honestly, that Pierre-Luc Dubois deal has already kind of blown up in their face, and they have 7 more years of it. So,
Question for you.
yeah,
If the Kings were to have made a trade, where did you want that trade? What area of their team did they need to focus on most?
I would argue they probably need some depth scoring. I don't think they actually some scoring in general. I think they're a pretty mediocre scoring team. Are they also not pretty bad on the penalty kill, or is it the power play? One of their
I
special
don't
teams is
I
not great.
I'm not sure, but for
Yeah, let
me,
me find
first
that
that
for
comes
you.
to mind is the
Or
goaltending,
goaltending as well. Yeah, I was just about
right?
to say. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
I was adamant about it. I didn't think any goaltenders were going to be moved, but if anybody could have used some goaltending, it was
Yeah.
probably them. Uh
So Jake Allen went for I think it was a third.
yeah, yeah. No, you're
That would
right.
have been like you could go Cam Talbot, Jake Allen. The other move that we did hear, they at least talked about, and it might have got punted to the summer, was Linus Olmark. That was something that they did explore. I don't know if that involved Pierre-Luc Dubois. There was conflicting reports on that one.
It's a tough one.
That would have obviously been a crazy blockbuster.
Yeah, like
But
please, LA,
yeah.
don't send that guy to the Atlantic, please.
No, yo, send him to the Bruins. I'm fine with that. Yo, I'm fine with that.
Well,
I'm fine
the
with that.
thing is, like,
I know what you're
he'll
saying. He's gonna turn
he is
into
that guy is quite literally he is Josh Anderson French. Like he is the French Josh Anderson against the Leafs. That guy will score twice, cross
yeah.
check the shit out of everybody on like whenever he's on the ice. That
And
he
he's
only
already
shows
done us dirty in the
yeah,
playoffs. Like
he only
he's
shows up
got
for
the
four.
history already.
He only shows up for 4 games every year, or what is it? 3 games. Technically, now it's 2 games, but it was only 3 to 4 games. It was 3 to 4 games every year against the Leafs, right? Like that's it. But granted,
Yeah.
against the Kings this year, he's kind of been invisible, but whatever.
Right
My
now he's
point still
Pierre-Luc the
stands.
Pumpkin, but you're
Yeah.
saying if he comes to the Bruins, he's Pierre-Luc du Beast.
Like
And yeah, I don't know.
you think PLD on I don't even think like if he puts up efforts like he normally does in Boston, I think he gets run out
Yeah.
of town
No,
within the first year.
but Boston does tend to get the most out of people. You're
They
right.
do, they do, they
You're
do.
right.
But this, I
Eh,
think this is a special case though. Like
yes, yeah,
how much can you get out of this guy? You
yeah.
could, but
Okay, anything else you got for the Kings?
that's it. I just want so I talked about scoring.
Yep,
Very good point on goaltending because it is bad. They are also 20th in goals for in the league. So just under mid,
yeah.
probably not where I mean for a team that's
Slightly below
it,
average, yeah.
yeah, they've always kind of built their teams on team defense, which is fine, but also you do need not only that do they not get goals, but they also don't get timely scoring either. You could kind of fix it if you like if you get timely scoring and stable D, it helps. But if you are missing one of the like missing timely scoring or missing like stable D, obviously your coach is going to get fired, right? Like they fired Tom McClellan like midway through the season, right?
Yeah, you could argue that was their deadline move, but I don't know.
Probably
I don't know how
maybe.
great of a deadline move it was, anyways. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
You want to
taking a
jump over
similar
to the
route as
East?
you
Oh,
here.
that's right.
Yeah,
Forgot
well,
about
yeah.
you. Damn.
I'm
That's
wearing
crazy.
green because I need to talk to my Dallas Stars people here.
Do it.
Um, I took them as my and Brian did as well. We both took them, I think, as our cup picks before the deadline, just based on their roster. They got Tanev and they got him for a decent deal. It was a second, third, and a prospect, Artem Grishnikov. He's nothing to write home about. Could be something, has NHL potential, but it's not anything the Stars should miss out on that much. And they got him, yeah, half retained. Actually, no, sorry, they got him double retained. And I thought, okay, they're gonna do something else too. They got him, and they didn't. They did nothing else. I think Dadonov is on LTIR, so it wasn't a space issue. And they decided to stand pat. Now, here's the good with the Stars. They already have a very nice looking roster. It is very nice looking. Just want to make sure. Yeah. So he's Dadonov is on IR. He's got an unknown injury duration. Like he makes 2.25 mil. That could have helped them make another move. Anyways, they've had Logan Stankoven come in. He's got 9 points in 11 games with 5 goals. He's been phenomenal. They still have the AHL's leading scorer that isn't named Stankoven, Maverick Bork. He could come up once they need him at playoff time. And I'm sure like he'll be like one of the black aces. Basically, for any injury, he's got to be coming in. They've had Thomas Harley absolutely explode. He, I believe, leads the NHL in goals as a defenseman. Miro Heiskanen, we know how great he is. Tanev and Lindell is their second pair. I think if they could have got Lindell down onto the third pair, they would have been looking fantastic. I think there could have been another move there on the blue line. If they were in on Sean Walker, that would have been something that really put them over the top, especially considering they didn't trade their first in the Tanev deal. So I'm going to look here. I'm going to see if they had their pick. I'm almost positive they have their first, though. They do. So they could have spent that, got Walker, and then you would have had a formidable team. Like I said, I still really, really like their squad, but I think they squandered a bit of an opportunity to keep up with the teams like the Avs in their division, like the Jets, who got Toffoli and Monahan. Um, they kind of plateaued a bit. I think they're still almost as good as Colorado. I still like them a little bit better than Winnipeg, but I think this was an opportunity to be far and away the best team. And you didn't need to make 4 moves like Colorado. You could have done it with just one more move. So slightly missed opportunity. I think Jim knows he's more conservative. He likes to save his bullets. He did that here, and I'm a little disappointed because I really really like their team this year, and I think they should have went as all in as they could.
You talk about saving bullets, but there does come a time and a place when do you fire off
This is
those
when you should
bullets,
save
right?
bullets for,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um,
We'll
do you
jump.
want to let's jump right over to the East.
Let's go. Let's go
Um,
to the East.
so I guess I'll kick us off for the East. Big winner in the East. I honestly am my winner for the deadline. I've debated between that this team and the Vegas Golden Knights, but I still think uh I still think the Canes, the moves that they made, um man, like I love them. I really love those moves. Getting Kuznetsov might I don't want to say like it could be one of the moves of the like if Rod Brindamore gets the best out of Evgeny Kuznetsov, that could be pound for pound for pound the best acquisition, like best player acquisition in this at the
Trade
deadline.
deadline.
Yeah, he's got so much upside. The only problem is, he's been snake bitten this season, hasn't been great actually for the past few years. But playing under a guy like Rod, man. Also they got Jake Gensel. Jake Gensel he's is what we call him a perennial 40 goal scorer. He's hit the 40
He's a
goal.
he's a two-time 40 goal scorer. I think a lot of
Man,
people forget that.
perennial 40 goal scorer,
Yeah.
man.
I'm gonna just run down the trades really quick
Yeah,
here. The
go right
Kuznetsov
through them.
trade was for a third. They got him half retained, so that's 3.9 million on the cap for this year and next year. That's an important thing.
Yep.
So it's not just a deadline deal, like a rental. The Jake Gensel trade, they got him 25% retained at 4.5 mil and Ty Smith. They traded Michael Bunting, Vasily Ponomarev, Cruz Lucius, and Vili Koivunen, along with a 2024 second rounder and a 2024 fifth rounder. So the Penguins didn't get a first round pick back for Jake Gensel, but they went quantity
Quality.
over quality. I don't hate that return for Pittsburgh, but let's stick on the Carolina frontier.
Yeah.
We saw Gensel and Kuznetsov up
Last
close
night.
last night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gensel scored the shootout winner.
Yeah.
Kuzi, I thought like he was noticeable. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't invisible. Like I did notice him. So
Yeah. He didn't
yeah, I do
I don't
think
think he picked up any points, Kuzi, but I think down the road a lot of teams are gonna be like, shit, we could have had him for half a team. But I think it's just dependent on the I think it's dependent on the like on the
the
situation.
fit.
Like
Yeah. This is a
I'm not
great fit for both sides, I think.
yeah,
Like this is the perfect scenario.
I'm not gonna sit here and say the Leafs should have traded for Kuznetsov because I don't
No,
think he would have worked
no,
in Toronto.
no chance.
And he made that abundantly clear in his press conference
Yeah.
2 hours before the game, where he's like,
Yeah.
I see how you guys crucifying." He was like, "Thank God
You guys are
my
too
buddy
hard on
Sammy."
Sammy here.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
Samsonov doesn't understand English that well because you guys crucify him every day, which is fair. Like that's been a sticking point the whole season. But Sammy also wasn't playing that hot to start the year, and now he's playing a lot better. So you take a little bit of the good with the bad there. But yeah, I don't think Kuznetsov would have lasted in a place like Toronto or even like a Boston or something like that. I think Carolina, a bit more low key, and you have that coach in Rod. Like I think everybody on this podcast should know our love for Rod Brindamore. Like we'd run through a brick wall for him. Rod can get um if Rod can get a Kuzi to run through a styrofoam wall. I'm not saying a brick wall. Just run through a styrofoam wall. That's good enough.
I agree. I definitely agree. Okay, I'll get through my winner here as
Yeah.
well. Funny enough, I'm going with the Washington Capitals. That's my Eastern Conference winner.
Nice,
And
nice.
I honestly, we got to rep for Brian here, but I honestly, I'm not playing this up. I do think they're a big winner because they turned a lot of nothing into something in my eyes. Coming into this year, Brian was nailing down Anthony Mantha is not the guy. He's dead weight. He was not good last year. He makes too much money. I don't know how we're gonna get rid of him. He's an anchor. They got a second and fourth for him from Vegas. They turned nothing into something. And
Yeah.
Anthony Mantha turned his play of nothing into something. So kudos to him. That's the first trade. Because that's something we already talked about. I think the biggest win for Washington, and it's not to say I don't like it for Carolina, because I do think it's win-win. You got a third back for him after putting this guy on waivers.
Hmm.
But you also freed up nearly 4 million cap space for next year. So as much as it's not a rental for Carolina, this is a present and future move for Washington. So I really like that bit of business there. It gives them room to do something in the offseason, whether it's a trade or a signing, to fill that space that's now void by Kuzi. And they traded Joel Edmondson to us. And I'm not saying they fleeced us or anything, but I think what's really interesting is I was just looking at this like 5 minutes before we started. Do you remember what Washington traded to get Joel Edmondson from Montreal?
Was that
You just
first?
had to take a guess. No, 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 no. But it was it was a third and a seventh. Do you know what we traded to get Edmondson?
Was that a well, we didn't have a second, so was that a third
Yeah, we
and a
don't have a
seventh
second.
as well? Or was it like a
It was a
third and a
well, it was a third and a fifth. So they
yeah,
made profit on this guy,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
I mean, it's obviously
Sorry.
it's like nothing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
just the fact that they got their money
Any
back
type of profit
basically,
is
right?
profit, man.
They basically invested in the Edmonton stock. It was a penny stock, but they got a little bit of something back, right? They got a 2 round upgrade on a pick. Like I don't know for a rental like 30-year-old defenseman, I'll take that. So I liked all three moves they made. They're penny pinching moves. They're nothing crazy, but they turned nothing into something three times. That's pretty good.
All right. Now you hit us with your Eastern loser.
Yeah, I'll be really quick on this here, and then we can jump to Dave's Eastern loser after our break. My Eastern loser is the New York Islanders for a lot of the same reasons that Dave mentioned with the LA Kings. They haven't made a trade in the calendar year of 2024. It's tough to win a deadline when you do nothing. And I think the Islanders of all teams could really use a deal. And that's well, last year they did make the Horvat trade, so I won't say last year, but this year I think they could have used another boost. They got one boost from the Patrick Waugh hiring, but I do think this is a team that, as we've said year after year, they're old. They need some new blood in there. Last year's new blood, other than Horvat, was like Engvall. Like they need to get some more depth. They could always use depth, and we know how Lou is. He's another guy who he's stingent. He saves his bullets. Last year, he spent a lot of them on Bo Horvat, and he's conserving them this time around. For a team in the playoff hunt, at the bottom of the playoff hunt, like looking to get into the wild card position, jockeying with teams like Tampa and Detroit. Tampa made some moves. Detroit didn't make many, but the Islanders could have easily put themselves ahead of those two teams with a couple moves, and they didn't.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
100%.
We'll take a break, and on the other side, we're going to Dave's loser.
But
Dave's
there you go. Okay.
Eastern Conference loser. Dave, who do you got? Who are you going to hit us with?
Well, considering we are both Leaf fans, to say this deadline was a little bit underwhelming, considering I would say the last three deadlines, let's say every year the Leafs always have like a deadline move, like at least one. Last year
Yeah,
we got multiple deadline moves.
it was by
And
far the
I
craziest deadline of the Matthews era. It
yeah,
was
yeah,
like
it definitely
we
was.
we literally could by the that McCabe trade had us like
Dude,
confused
I
as to
was at a
like
store. I was at a store
yeah,
trying to make sense of what was going on. I was at the store that
yeah.
I work at trying to make sense of what was going on. I'm like, let me
I,
get these. I was grabbing groceries. I was like, dude, I'm running around the store, gonna smashing into old ladies, trying to get home so I could talk about it. Trying to like I
yeah,
think I
we talked
wrote
about it
about
right
it.
away.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I was like, we could have done this like an hour later, guys, like or the hour before, like one of the two. Like like why'd you pick right
yeah.
then to do it? Whatever. I'm not upset, Kyle. I'm not upset. But I hope the Pittsburgh Penguins lose. Whatever. So
Totally unrelated.
very, very underwhelming. in comparison, especially to last year. And I don't think I think to set those types of expectations, you were probably going to get burned. I think everybody, like me and Christian especially, we realized that the Leafs were dealing from behind, basically, right? They didn't have a second round pick. They didn't want to deal their first. They didn't really want to deal Fraser Minton or Easton Cowan, their two top prospects, if the player in return wasn't like on
Some
uh
kind of term.
on a longer deal. Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, you went in, they went in needing a right shot D. You traded away 6 picks, and all you got in return for a right shot D was Ilya Labushkin. I feel bad. I think I like what Labushkin can bring to the table. Was he the best player that you probably could have got? I don't know. I will say of all the trades, I'm liking Joel Edmondson quite a bit. Um, I I don't defense aside, I think just the presence that he brings on the back end.
Yeah.
Me and Christian actually we sent each other the same article like last week, and it was
Yeah,
from
we
the
both read
Athletic.
the article and we're like, "Yo, Dave
This is really
and Christian,
good.
the other guy should read this." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
it's
we
like
already
oh,
did. I already
it's
did."
like hey, I'm reading it right now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, Joel Edmondson just seems to be like number one vibes guy, which I like. I know a
yes.
lot of people
I,
hate
I
that.
will say though, did you know that? I didn't know he was that guy,
If you
right?
were to give me the list of the entire team, I would have
Yeah,
probably had like Connor Dewar above Joel Edmondson on
yeah,
vibes,
and
guys.
that's a low bar. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's
I'll
crazy
do it.
that he's gonna be like that they want him to be vibes guy when they already have kind of vibes guy in Ryan Reeves. Like, I don't know, like
Yeah,
more vibes, I
lots of
guess.
vibes, man.
Lots of
Does
just
vibes plus
vibes.
vibes equal more
Equal more
vibes? We're
vibes.
gonna find out. We're gonna find out.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Um,
I think just for anyone wanting to read that same article, it was from Joshua Cloak, The Athletic. He wrote an article on Joel Edmondson, just kind of what he brings, and I think his nickname is Steady Eddie.
Steady
He
Eddie. It's
he
a great
also is
nickname.
like he's also big into like DJing and stuff. Apparently, like any bar a team goes to, he just tries to find someone working. There's like, yo, where's the aux? Where can I plug in? So
Another
DJ
thing,
Eddie.
another thing I found out actually this weekend that Christian pointed out, I don't know if it's a big misconception with other people because it kind of seems like it might. Joel Edmondson, the like biggest sounding Swedish name that's from Canada. Like
Yeah,
the guy's from
yeah.
Manitoba or something like that, or
It's
is he Albertan?
from Brandon. I think it's Brandon,
Brandon, Manitoba.
Saskatchewan. Yeah,
Brandon,
Brandon, Manitoba sounds right.
yeah,
He's from
Southern.
Brandon, Western Canada.
Yeah, because
Okay.
was he not a wheat king?
Yes.
Yeah,
No.
so
Sorry, he wasn't. He wasn't. He was a Moose Jaw Warrior
Moose.
with Morgan Riley.
Morgan
Yeah,
Riley.
so
Okay,
they
okay,
had that
okay.
connection.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
know what? Honestly, we've already
Jump right
started
in.
Leaf Talk. Let's
Yeah. Let's
continue
go.
with Leaf Talk here. I'm just gonna give some context for the trades that we made. Let's pull up the Leafs here. It was 3 trades. First one was the Labushkin deal, and we got him double retained, which was like 685K or something. It was
Yeah, it's
like
under the
below league minimum, which
it's
is
under league
hilarious.
min, yeah.
Yeah, so we traded a third and a sixth for Labushkin. We then got Edmondson for a third and a fifth, half retained. And oh yeah, we also got this guy Cade Weber from the NCAA. I wish I had an opinion on Cade
Would
Weber
not be
other than
able to
he's
tell
six
you.
foot six. Like
He's a big boy. Big
and
boy.
defensive defenseman of the year in his conference. So that's pretty cool.
That's something.
Yeah,
It is
we'll see
something.
what's up with this guy. He also leads I think he leads the NCAA in blocks. Like he's a just a stay at home guy. We'll
Love it.
see. Maybe he's something. Maybe he's
Just
something.
put love a guy that will just throw his body in front of a
Yeah.
couple of pucks. I
Yeah,
love that.
as Babs used to say, he's 6'6" every time he hits the ice, right? Like
He
it's
he
that line.
might he might like make the team in the future just solely like purely based out of like the build.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
might genuinely not be a good
I
defenseman,
mean,
but God, like you can't
that's
deny
how that's
six
kind of how
six.
Benoit made the team, right?
Yeah, yeah, to an
And like
extent, 100%.
once upon a time, Ben Harper was the seventh defenseman. I was like, what
Yeah.
the hell?
Listen,
So
I hope he turns more like Benoit than Ben Harper. I'll be
yes,
honest with
yeah.
you. Yeah.
Benny, not Ben Harper, yeah.
Not Ben. Benny, not
And
Benny.
then Then we got the Connor Dewar for Dmitry Ovchinnikov and a fourth. So these are all deals around the fringe of the roster, like you were saying. I will say, if I had to rank these trades so far, I think I'm yeah. As much as I like Edmondson, I like what he brings. I have not formed an opinion on his play yet, which in itself is a compliment because it means I don't notice him that much on the ice. And usually, when you're noticing a defenseman, it's not for good reasons. Because the one time I have noticed Edmondson was against Montreal when he nearly got burned by a winger streaking down the right wing. He tried to pivot and he nearly fell, and the guy got
Yeah.
easily by him. It's the only time I've noticed him. So I'm gonna give him benefit of the doubt, not forming any opinions on Edmondson's play yet. I have formed an opinion on Lyubushkin's. He's not impressed me so far.
Not
He is
good.
third out of the three trades so far. The puck looks like a bomb on his stick sometimes, and he looks like he's playing hot potato. He has not looked like the Lyubushkin we had the first time around. He gets brutalized in
Beat.
every single game as a
He
Leaf. The
gets
guy just
just
gets
caved
clobbered in
in.
every corner.
He gets
I don't know
caved.
if
The
that's
worst part is that
yeah,
he gets caved in. Not only does he get hemmed in his zone and caved in defensively,
yeah,
he's a kind of he's a black hole on offense.
yeah,
And he also just gets trucked. For a
yeah.
guy that's coming in with a mantra as the Russian bear, that guy looks more like a cub than,
The
you know,
Russian Cub doesn't have the same
yeah,
ring to it.
doesn't have the
Yeah,
same ring to it, right? The dude,
yeah.
he how many times over the past, let's just say over the past week, was
Uh,
he just mangled? Did he
I
just
would
get
guess four. I'm going four,
that's
which I
way too
think is
many
how many
times.
games he's played in. Yeah,
You know how many
it's way
times
too many.
that is four too many times for my
Yeah,
liking, if I'm being
yeah,
honest.
especially in the regular season.
Yeah.
Um, they want and they're putting him paired with Riley. Like you're expecting this guy to be the long, like the prodigal son to be paired with Riley. Like no. It's
I
not happening. And I think Keith recognizes that because he played the least amount of time last night.
mhm.
So there's something to that.
I
But yeah, I
think the
really need to
only
see something from him.
I'll be honest, I think the only reason for that is because they're I don't know if you could say happy with their other two pairs, but it's just kind of like the last slot missing. And they kind
Yeah,
of
it's just what they have. They
yeah.
didn't
And
like you said, they didn't make other trades.
in turn, you're kind of casting aside your probably the best defenseman that the Leafs have had over the past 20 years, let's say, maybe since Caberlet, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of throwing him to the wayside because of it. Like that's crazy. Morgan Riley
Yeah.
had such a great start to the season and he looked electric. Over the past couple of months, he's kind of tailed off, and I have all the faith in him to turn it back on again when the games matter.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put him in a position where he's stapled to Ilya Lyubushkin the entire time, who I just mentioned to you is literally a non-factor going into the offensive zone. He's also a non-factor in the defensive zone, which also is not Morgan Riley's strong suit.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
It's like you said, I've got faith in Morgan Riley, no matter who his partner is, to
100%.
be good offensively in the playoffs. But last year was different because he was almost our MVP against Tampa. I
I would
trusted
argue he
him.
might have been.
Yeah, I trusted him in all areas of the ice because of Luke Shen, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to have that feeling this year. We're not going to have
No.
that feeling.
No.
I think the only way we end up with that is if they end up making a switch with Edmondson maybe as that guy. But even then, like I don't want to make Edmondson out like some like savior here. He's still not what we need on that top pair.
He might
So
just have to be the savior. Like you
yeah,
might just be
yeah,
throwing somebody into the mix to be the savior,
yeah.
basically.
No, I think so. And then the other guy, Connor Dewar, my impression of him so far is he's a heady guy. He's very self-aware of his positioning on the ice. Outside of once again that one player against Montreal in the penalty
Yeah.
kill where he
Okay.
didn't take a guy 5 feet in front of him. Outside of that, he does look very aware positionally. He likes to be the F3, the high forward, aka the first guy back. I do appreciate that. He's just as speedy, maybe not as speedy as a Connor, as a Noah Gregor, but he's got that type of speed. Also has Noah Gregor hands, aka not much.
None. Zero.
Um, yeah, but he's 24. He's an RFA. He's a bottom six forward. He can play some center. I like those things. I'd probably say he's my favorite trade of them all just because of the RFA status.
Yeah.
But yeah. So once again, those around the fringes of the roster. You took them as your loser. I don't know if I'd go as far as making them my loser, but I will say I am disappointed because that 7 game win streak did have me looking anywhere and everywhere for every kind of upgrade the Leafs could make at the
Just keep it
deadline.
going. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is coming from someone who at the I want to say in December was saying they should either stand pat or buy low.
Yeah.
And I honestly I just thought there was a lot of good players available at this
Dude,
deadline.
there
I know it doesn't seem like it
yeah.
because
There
it
were
wasn't
some
volume. Like
yeah.
this wasn't a busy deadline like last year, but I thought there were players to be
The
had that
players
could have really helped us out.
the players that were moving were all guys that could probably help the team.
Yeah.
Like
I think
there were so many of them too.
the big thing too is last year was a seller's market. I don't think it was a seller's market this
This
year.
year was
Like
buyers. This is a
there was no Tanner Janot for a first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. That
yeah.
didn't happen.
This was a buyer
So
market that the
it was a
Leafs
buyer's
just
market, and
did not.
we weren't involved.
The problem
So
was that they bought at the selling market and they decided to
yes,
almost stand pat basically at
I, I I do think they could. Like I think last year they were very justified in buying as much as
100%.
they did because it was an arms race in
Yeah.
the East, and
Yeah.
they kept pace.
Especially in the
They had to do that
Atlantic.
to keep pace. Yes, yeah. Boston
Yeah.
went all in. The Rangers went all in, and I thought we went all in. I was fine with that, but I also think as much as everyone like to talk about, we don't have assets to burn this deadline. I think we do. I would
Yeah.
have partnered with Fraser Minton in the right deal. I said that Fraser Minton was our David Edstrom in that Hurdle deal. You're telling
Yeah.
me you're not doing a first and Fraser Minton for Tomas Hurdle, 17% retained and 2/3 when we have been talking about needing a 2C to help
Probably
out
need
Tavares. Like, I'm sorry, I would have done that in a heartbeat.
the Leafs probably need a little bit more of attention there. They probably
They
have
could
to
have
go
made it
through a
work.
third party.
They could
They
have made it
definitely
work.
could have made it work though. 100%.
From the guy that's on cap friendly every day,
Yeah. Yeah.
there would have been ways to make it work if they
Oh,
wanted to.
100%. 100%.
And
Yeah.
it does leave me
Is
disappointed.
is it fair to say after what is it, let's say 6 months that Brad's been on the job, he's not a very creative person.
Which is hilarious because he had a quote saying we're going to be very creative at the deadline
That
in the lead up. That's
uh
ironic.
yeah.
I actually I will say I will disagree here because I think he did decide even though I don't agree with it, he has decided to save his bullets for the
Yeah,
summer.
okay.
And
Fair.
I do think I do remember going into the year we kind of came to the conclusion to not expect much from Brad outside of the free agent signings because he needs to do the good old analyze the team, see what he's working with for the first year, which is a very
Mhm.
common thing. I think that's what's played out. But I just look back at some of his trades before the Leafs, like that Lindholm Hannafin trade was very creative.
Mhm.
They traded Adam Fox in that deal, and that was a very creative deal. I do think he has that in him. And I feel like we heard Brad poking on people that weren't rentals, like we were saying. Like we heard stuff about like Pareko and Buchnevich. Early in the year, it was Ristolainen talk, which was like,
Mm.
oh,
Didn't like that.
that's the other side of the
Yeah,
creativity.
too creative. Too creative.
Yeah, yeah. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt there. Yeah, well let's say this though. His offseason moves from the summer, they're starting to age a little bit like maybe not a fine wine, but a finer wine than
Yeah.
they started off
They,
as,
they are, yeah.
right?
I think a lot of people jump to like the biggest of conclusions.
Us included,
Yeah.
myself very
I
included. I was out on Max Domi after the first
I
preseason
was
game.
I was team Burt, then very not team Burt for like a few weeks,
Yeah,
especially like the beginning part of the season. I'd say a month.
yeah,
Now I'm all the way back in team Bort
yeah.
all the way.
I feel very confident in those two.
Yeah.
Um, in the playoffs to show us a new gear. Don't
Yeah.
you feel
Yeah.
that way? Like
100%.
because I
100%.
think listen, we were in Florida for the 2 games they played against the Bruins, so
Yeah.
it's tough for us to talk about those games because we didn't get a chance to watch them
Probably
really
the
at all.
two biggest games of the season we were
I
just
know,
not available
and now
for.
we're
That sucked.
basically lined up to play against them in the
Yeah.
first round. It's like a 75% chance.
Yeah.
But I think a constant theme has been those two step up physically. In those games, you notice them. They don't shy away from those moments. Obviously,
They
they've lost those
also
games, which is not good. But
there's also a theme between the two that both of them elevate their game in the playoffs. Max Domi
yeah,
for the Dallas was it Dallas last
yeah,
year?
yeah. It was
He
Dallas last year playing center 2C.
Yeah, dude, almost had a was he not a point a game or was he just under a point per game in the playoffs? He had a ridiculous playoff.
Yeah, once he had like 11 or 12 points in like 15 games or something. It's good. It's really good from
And
him. And
Tyler
Bertuzzi
Bertuzzi
was the
was well over a
leading
point a
scorer.
game. Yeah,
He was their leading scorer in the
for the
first
Boston
round.
Bruins. Yeah. Yeah,
So
so
I feel
I am
confident in both
I,
of those guys.
I am more confident on them. I'm not too worried about the forward group. Whatever amalgamation you want to make, at the end of the day, you're going to have
I
Matthews,
agree.
you're going to have JT, you're going to have Willie, you're going to have Mitch. Those four are there. It doesn't help that Calle Yarncroke is. I don't. If Calle Yarncroke plays game one of the playoffs, I will go buy a Boston Bruins jersey. I will be so shocked if he's in game one. That I just said that on camera, and now
Yeah, yeah,
I have my fingers crossed the
yeah.
whole time. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Um,
Yo, but even if he plays game one, are you confident that we're getting like Calle
no,
Yarncroke? Like remember
he,
last year, we
yeah,
very deferred on Calle Yarncroke in the playoffs. I was fine with his play. You were not happy with it at all. And then
yeah,
I came to your side by the end of the Tampa series. I was like, you're
yeah,
right. We do need something more. And I think a finger injury, just like we saw with Ryan O'Reilly last year, like Ryan O'Reilly's a warrior. He fought through it and he gave us his best still in the playoffs, but you knew that was bothering him. You knew
yeah.
that, and it
Mm-hmm.
hampered him offensively. And we know that Calle Yarncroke's best trait offensively is his shot.
Sure.
If his finger is not 100%, I don't care if he's in game one. I'm going to be skeptical about that tool until I see
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
And Calle Yarncroke outside his shot gives you a consistent effort of just okay. He's not a liability, but he's not driving play. So
yeah.
without that shot, he's a bit of a punt, right? So that's a good point. That's a very good point. Is there anything you want to see out of this team down the stretch that's going to give you confidence that they can beat the Boston Bruins? We're going to presumptively say it's the Boston Bruins until it isn't.
Well,
What
I
can they
mean,
do to give you
listen.
confidence
Well,
they can beat them in the first round?
technically, right now, it's not the Boston Bruins. You know who it is?
Are we in the wild card spot right now?
No, we're not.
Is it? Did
Florida's not in
they
first
catch
though.
the Bruins caught the Panthers?
Yeah,
Oh my god. Okay, throw that out the window. What
it's a
can we
bit of a
do?
dogfight for that
Honestly,
first spot. I
I
think.
thought the Panthers had started like pulling away. Wow.
No.
Wow. Is there any
Um,
games in hand?
give me a sec.
Yeah.
The
I mean,
Bruins have a
uh,
game, have one
okay.
game, and they're also
All right.
they're in front
So,
by a point. So it's going to be jockeying
yeah,
for
it is a dogfight, like you said.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Let's. I don't think really our game plan should change that much if it's the Bruins or the Panthers. They are very similar teams, to be honest. The Panthers obviously scare me more than the Bruins. They were my Eastern Conference Stanley Cup final pick in December.
so
I'm sticking with that.
to finish out the rest of this month, the Leafs have 7 games. Okay, Flyers 2 games against the Capitals. For the like one this week, one at the end of the month. They got the Oilers at home. They're going to Carolina. Jersey's coming. Caps are like I said, the Caps are coming. So we're going to Washington. Caps are coming at the end of the month. And um then they head to Buffalo. Okay. In those seven
Is that
games,
okay? Yeah.
in those 7 games, how many of those teams are playoff teams currently? The Oilers, the
Edmonton, Carolina.
Hurricanes. That's
So
it, right?
yeah, I was gonna say those are the only two games I would care about in this stretch. They could go 2-5, but if they win those two games against Edmonton and Carolina, I'm really not that mad.
No,
Um,
what I want to see is you beat. I'm not
sure,
gonna say I'm gonna
yes,
sit here and say 7-0, right?
yeah.
You give
I'm
me
honestly
give me good perform, very good performance. I would great performances against those middling teams. Give me a great 2 games against the Caps. Give me a very good game against the New Jersey Devils as well. Put them out of their misery. I want to see that. I want to see you put the up and coming, maybe in a couple of years we'll see you do New Jersey, but put them in their place right now. But that they have there it's actually a back-to-back. I didn't even realize that against the Oilers and then the Canes.
Goddamn.
Put them both in the dirt. All I want to see is them putting teams in the mud. They have the ability to. They quite literally put the Philadelphia Flyers in the mud this past week. They
Yeah.
honestly they put the Philadelphia Flyers in the mud multiple times this season.
Urson's gonna
They
put himself in the mud next season. He's gonna be missing every time he plays the Leafs next year.
then dude, April doesn't get any easier, man. They start off the month uh in at home to the Panthers, at home to the Lightning. They go to Montreal. They play the Devils another 2 times in April. They finish the year their last 3 games. It's Red Wings, who are itching and clawing to stay in a playoff spot. Then they head to Florida. They go play in Sunrise, and then they go play in Tampa. That's a back-to-back the end of the
That's
year.
a
Like,
Yo, can I just say that April is fantastic? Like just from an entertainment standpoint.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
that is going to be fantastic hockey,
And
which isn't usually the case.
I didn't even mention it. Another game against the Habs in Montreal.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's I can't wait for that. Yeah, I don't know. That March stretch doesn't I'm very indifferent in terms of how we do. Like obviously we can't go 0-7. Gotta stay in the playoff picture. But assuming we're in and around 500, I I can't get worked up for too many of those games. I'm not gonna lie. I can't. I've come to the conclusion that I don't really care how they do against like some of those opponents. I don't know if I don't know if beating those guys is going to make me feel any different about them. I think that's how I put it. Yeah, but obviously
Yeah,
those April games are huge,
fair.
especially because we got swept by the Bruins in the regular season. So we gotta pick up
So
those points against our other divisional opponents, right? So
I went through the rest of the schedule just to say win out. Like, why can't we just win out? Basically, you have the talent to. I would argue they are as talented as most of those teams that they're going to be playing against. Probably more talented than a few of them.
we went
Just
toe to
win
toe with
out.
Carolina last night. We should have won that game. Obviously, we choked
Yeah.
it big time, but we were the better team. We carried play 5-on-5. It was our special teams that sank
Yeah,
us.
oh, man, did it ever?
Yeah, so I agree with that. I For me, some of the things I want to see just on a team, I mean, on player specific angle, I need to see the Willie that we saw in the first 25 games of the season. That's not to say Willie's been bad at all. He's been great, but he was otherworldly to begin the season, basically up until Sweden. He was just incredible. And he was a top 5 player in the entire league, I would say. We need to see that guy ramp up again in time for playoffs. That's one thing. I need to see at least one 24-minute Mitch Marner special when he comes back from his high ankle sprain. And what I mean by that is just one of those games where he's anywhere and everywhere. He's on the power play, he's on the penalty kill. He's just feeling it. He's got 2 assists. He's hitting the post. He's
Got a
maybe got a
goal.
goal. Like just
Yeah,
one of those Mitch Marner
one
specials
of
where
those
Sheldon
games.
Keefe is like, I'm gonna run this guy into the ground because that'll have me confident that he's back from his high ankle sprain. So I want to look. I want to see one of those, and I want to see Timothy Liljegren continue to look the way he's looked the past couple of weeks. I think he's
Yeah,
looked really good.
playing a
I
lot
mean,
better.
Dave, I think Liljegren might be outside of the core four. We might have the most conversations about Timothy Liljegren like
Oh,
on the
yeah,
team. Like
easily.
he's been the
And
guy we talk about the most.
I don't think any of them are on the podcast either. They're normally
Yeah,
on the train
yeah,
ride
they're
to
all on the
school.
train. Yeah, so Timothy Liljegren's look good. Obviously, he
Yeah,
scored that knuckleball goal against the Urson on the
yeah.
Flyers.
They definitely helped him
Um,
out.
yeah,
Adding to if you get Timothy, like if Morgan Riley, let's say Morgan Riley, he jumps up to maybe not to the exact standard, maybe doesn't surpass the standard that he set for himself last year in the playoffs. But if we get, let's say, 80% of that Morgan Riley in the playoffs, I'm fine with it. But then if you also get Timothy Liljegren taking his game up from to like 200%, I would say, because dude, the guy was playing at, I would argue he was playing at like a 0% for stretches of this season. If he takes it up to whatever, if if he takes up
He just
whatever
needs
is,
to look how he's looked right now. That's it.
yes, yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah.
That eases so many doubts I have in my mind about the defense on this team.
Yeah.
You're
He needs
at
to
the end of the
also not
day,
be on the highlight or the low light
the low
reel
light reel.
for the series losing goal in overtime against the Florida Panthers like it was last year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like however, if we are down and out in the playoffs this year, I need Timothy Liljegren to not be on the ice for that moment,
Yep.
right? Like,
Fair.
yeah. Um, yeah, that's all I've got. I know we haven't talked goalies at all. I'll be honest. I'm not worried about our goaltending. I'm not. I'm just
I
not. Like
I have to
the fact
say,
we have Sammy and Wall, like I'm not stressing about it.
I
I feel
was
confident that one of them are gonna be adequate for us.
so so here's the thing on Sammy. I don't know if you remember this, but last year, so Ilya Samsonov outdueled Andrei Vasilevsky.
Yeah,
I think in so they won that game in that series in six. I think he only had above 900 save percentage
one game,
once, one game.
game six, probably.
So here's my thing. If he gives us just consistent not from what I've seen right
Yeah,
now, him leading into the playoffs last year, he was also not playing at the level that he was at points from
yeah.
last year. And right now he's playing miles better than what he was playing at the beginning of this year. If we get Ilya Samsonov, just give me nine, pull out a number here, 905, like my phone number. Give me a 905 for the first round. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get, if it's Boston, I don't know if it's going to be enough to get by Jeremy Swayman, but it is something. Just give me you know what? I'm going to aim higher, 910. Give me 910.
Yeah. I think I couldn't name you save percentages from any of the goalies like in the Matthews era, like what they've given us in series. I
Oh,
think I would
well,
look
I'll tell you, a
right.
Freddie Anderson one in
Okay,
2019 was probably
yo,
not
yeah,
great.
you're
2018
right.
or 20
So
was it
I think the difference between Sammy and Freddie and Campbell is Freddie and Campbell looked fine in the playoffs outside of when they let in that goal.
the bad
And they
one?
would let in that goal once a game, sometimes two goals like that once a game. Sorry, two goals like that in a game.
In the game.
Sammy sometimes lets like he makes that save, right? That's the difference.
That's the biggest factor
That's
there.
the difference.
Last night
Sammy
he
didn't
was
have great save
making
percentages. I'm sure that if you looked at a box score, you'd be like, what's so different about Sammy between Freddie and Campbell? And the
probably
difference
not
is
much.
Sammy, when it mattered,
Yeah.
he would make that save. He would.
And in terms of
That's
mechanics,
it.
it's probably I think he's probably the most talented
I
goaltender.
yeah, like he's got that athleticism. But I think it's a mental thing with him. Like as much as we've
Oh
had the problems with
man.
him mentally this year, uh, he he's able to just find it when he needs it. That confidence, right? Like just he's able to block out some of that media that Kuznetsov talked about. And yeah, he's able to stay within himself a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something I actually criticized him for the beginning of the year is he wasn't staying within himself, and then after that
Hmm.
Marley stretch, he's back. Um, like I said though, if he falters, I think I do have faith in Wall. I know he wasn't looking good in the couple games he had back from injury, but I'm
That's
more of the mind it's going to sort itself out. The goaltending,
that is another thing I'd like to see. I'd like to see them not run Sammy. If it's 17
yeah,
games for the rest of the year, I'd like to see Sammy play 7 of them.
10, yeah, yeah. I'd say Sammy 10 and Wall 7. I think that's
I
fine.
would I would even run Wall out. Like if it's not a perfect split, I would give Wall
Like 9-8,
maybe more. Yeah, nine
yeah,
eight. 9-8's a fun
yeah,
9-8's fine.
yeah. Okay, it's a lot of talk for us. We got through a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
Me and Dave wanted to go a little shorter on this pod, but honestly,
No,
we
it
haven't
wasn't
talked for
happening.
so long that
Was just not
it was
happening.
good to yeah, it wasn't happening, but it's
I
okay. It's
have to
totally
say,
fine.
we said off camera, we did not budget for that the
Yeah, we
trip.
wanted to talk.
We should have done that, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
at the end of the day, that didn't make or break us. But really quick here, while we're
Yeah.
talking, those Centennial jerseys, I mean, St. Pat's jerseys last night. Just wanted to give those a shout out.
Oh,
Things of
nice.
beauty. little bit tainted by the game last night. Not gonna
Not
lie.
great. Not great.
I
Yeah.
do still think I'm gonna buy one. Um, yeah, I just wanted to say that. That's it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't know if I'm gonna get a jersey or maybe just like some St. Pat's
Some
merch.
kind of
I do
merch.
want
Yeah.
some St. Pat's merch though. That's the one thing I've always kicked myself of not getting is like something St. Pat's because I love
I just think this year's logo lends itself really well to like a hat
a
or a
nice
shirt
hat.
or
Give
like
me a nice
the
top with it too. I love
yeah,
it. Even a
yeah.
sweater, something.
Like there's a lot you can go a lot of ways with it. So yeah, we'll get something like that at some point. Where can you get a St. Pat's Bobby McMahon
Connor
jersey, Dave?
Doer.
Connor
Connor
do it. Joe
Ilya
Steady Eddie. Yeah, where can you
Steady,
get a
dude, I would like a steady Eddie,
right?
Joel Edmondson, St. Patrick's. You could go to NHLshop.com in the description of the video. And also, if you're listening to this on Spotify, it's also in the description there as well. Shout out to
Shout out
Razor.
Fubo,
Shout out.
Razor.
Yeah, shout out Fubo.
Yeah,
They're making moves. They're doing some stuff. I
yeah.
don't know exactly what they're doing, but they're doing stuff.
Brian informs us of the moves.
Yeah, he does inform us of them doing stuff. Shout out to Razor, shout out to Fubo, shout out NHLshop.com. Who am I missing? Are we missing something?
And we got them all. We got them
We get
all.
them all. Other than
It's
that,
fun, Dave, and we'll do it again next week.
see you next. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, but we'll
I'll
see
see Dave
you,
tomorrow. I'll see everyone else.
yeah, next
Yeah.
week. Yeah, yeah. All right.
Adios.
Later.